pranams at Bhagawan's lotus feet, respected elders, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Today is the sacred day of the Aradhana Mahotsavam of our beloved Lord, Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Exactly 11 years back, on 24th April 2011, Swami chose to give up the human form which he had consciously donned on himself for the sake of humanity. The form may have left us, but we all know the divine presence can never go. Swami compares human life to a balloon. And he says, see, there is air inside the balloon, there is air even outside the balloon. The human form is like a temporary existence. So long as the balloon is there, the air assumes a particular name and a form for some time, and when the balloon bursts, nothing happens. The air is anyway there. That is divine consciousness, was there, is there, and will always be there. As we celebrate the 97th year of the advent of the avatar, the best thing we can do on such a day is to recall the glory of Bhagawan, recall the wonderful institutions that he built, the magnificent projects that he took up, and above all the wonderful teachings and messages that he gave to humanity. So I will run down memory lane and recall a few of those highlights of the avataric vision, because one can never do justice in 30 minutes to the avataric vision. So I will just touch the tip of the iceberg. 1926, 23rd November, we know that the divine consciousness, which our Vedas refer to as the Parabrahman, unmanifest, manifested in a human form, such an enchanting form which we worship as Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Many miracles started happening after Bhagawan took a human form in Puttaparthi, but the major milestone came when his body was around 14 years, 1940. The first very big miracle that happened was in the Virupaksha temple. When Swami's elder brother had gone there for darshan, they made Sathya stand with the luggage outside. And when they went in, they saw Sathya even in the sanctum sanctorum. And they were stunned. They knew there is something miraculous about Bhagawan. Then there was a scorpion bite. And they saw a lot of unusual behavior in Swami. And many people said, oh, it's because of the scorpion bite. And they started asking, Swami, who are you? What is this? And one day, Bhagawan's father, the father of the body, very sternly asked Swami, tell me who you are. And the young Sathya, just 14 years, there were some jasmine flowers. He took those jasmine flowers and just sprinkled them on the floor. And they formed in Telugu the word Sai Baba. 1940 May, Swami revealed his identity to mankind, saying, I am Sai Baba. The same year, October, 20th October 1940 to be precise, Swami formally announced, I am Sri Sathya Sai Baba, the reincarnation of Shirdi Sai Baba. Once this came to be known, we know thousands of people started flocking to Puttaparthi from India, from overseas. It became essential to build a mandir for darshan. There was no darshan hall. So the first darshan hall was built in 1945. We now call it the Pata Mandir. A little distance away from the bank of Chitravati. That's where Swami gave his darshan in the 1940s. 1945 onwards. 1947, Bhagawan wrote a letter to his elder brother, and in that letter Swami revealed the purpose of his avatar. There were three profound statements he made. The first one, he said, I have a task of nurturing entire mankind. See, it encompasses the entire universe. He said, I have a task of nurturing entire mankind filling their lives full of ananda and bliss. I have a vow to bring back those who have strayed away from the correct path back into goodness and save them. And the third one, he said, I'm attached to a work that I love of protecting the poor, giving them what they lack. Mother Ishwarama, the loving mother, was happy and yet very anxious. She said, oh my God, my child is divine. So many people are coming to him. Very soon he will leave me and go away. So the first thing that the mother did is she took a promise from Swami. Swami, please don't leave Puttaparthi. Why should the avatar leave Puttaparthi when the whole world is anyway in his hands? Swami transformed Puttaparthi into a powerful spiritual magnet that drew millions of people from all over the world to his lotus feet. He didn't have to leave Puttaparthi. But to convince his mother in 1950, the Prashanti Nilayam Ashram, which we know as of today, came into existence, and Swami shifted from the Patamandir to Prashanti Nilayam. That was in 1950. When Mother Ishwarama saw Swami performing so many miracles, curing incurable diseases, materializing gifts for people, solving all sorts of unsolvable problems, the pious lady that she was, the pure heart that Mother Ishwarama had, after all, she begot the divine child. She said, why don't I make a prayer to Swami? A very selfless prayer. This is all part of the divine plan. Swami prompted her and she made 3 prayers to Swami. She said, Swami, people of the village, we are talking about 1940s, people of that unknown village, when they fall sick, they have to travel so far to a hospital. Swami, why not you build a small hospital in Puttaparthi? And then all our children have to be educated. There is no school. Sathya himself walked so many kilometers to go to a school. Why don't you build a small school, Swami? And to live a healthy life, the most important thing we need is drinking water. In those days, so difficult to get drinking water. She said, Swami, can you arrange good drinking water for the village? These 3 became Swami's flagship program in his avataric mission. He had built it so. These are the 3 biggest mega social projects which Swami took up as an answer to Mother Ishwarama's prayer, and he fulfilled it in a way that none of us can even imagine. So let us take a glimpse into each of these 3 projects. The first one is healthcare. 1956, Swami built a general hospital in Puttaparthi for all the people, not only in Puttaparthi but from villages around. Even today, it is functioning as ever. None of the projects that Swami has started has ever seen even a break, forget stopping. The Puttaparthi hospital continues till today, 1956. 1976, Swami constructed a general hospital in Bangalore, here in Whitefield, so that it could help people from the city, urban areas. Then in 1991, 23rd November, it was Bhagawan's birthday, and Swami made an announcement in the Hillview Stadium in Puttaparthi. He said, I have built all these hospitals, but there are specialty treatments, cardiac surgeries, neurosurgeries. How can poor people have not even heard these words? Forget undergoing these surgeries. They cost lakhs of rupees. Who will help them? Swami said, I will help them. And he declared, all of a sudden, to everybody's surprise, I am going to build a super specialty hospital. Honestly, none of us had heard of that word, super specialty hospital. And he said, where am I going to build it? In Puttaparthi. 22nd November 1991, not even 1 year, 1 day less than 1 year, the hospital was inaugurated. Even today, experts are baffled. The top experts in the world say to build a hospital like that, minimum 7 to 9 years you need for planning and execution. How did Baba build it in less than 1 year? The hospital was built, continues to function till date. 10 years later, 2001, we all know Swami built a super specialty hospital here in Whitefield, the second hospital which functions on the same lines. as the one in Puttaparthi, offering specialty care to all patients who are in need of it. Bhagawan made healthcare affordable, accessible, available, which the whole world is still striving today how to make this possible. Swami showed us a role model. He didn't stop at this. In 2006, Swami started a very unique initiative called the Sri Sathya Sai Mobile Hospital, where a mobile bus, for those of us who do not know, a huge mobile bus with latest diagnostic devices and a team of expert doctors in all fields. They go from village to village offering healthcare right at the doorstep of the village people. How magnificent. Today this is being replicated. It has been replicated in so many cities in India and even abroad. This is the healthcare vision of Bhagawan. The next promise that he gave Mother Ishwarama was education. Bhagavan says the end of education is character. He built educational institutions that would function like modern gurukulas, offering modern secular education combined with ancient spiritual wisdom to bring out young men and women of character. And these institutions developed a holistic personality in these students through what we now very popularly call the values-based integral education system. This mission began when? In 1968, when people never knew the word women empowerment. That word itself perhaps was coined much later. That year, Swami started a women's college exclusively for women in Anantapur, the Sri Sathya Sai Arts and Science College for Women, the first college. Very next year, the college that he built is just a few feet away from here, the Sri Sathya Sai Arts, Science and Commerce College in our Brindavan campus, Brindavan Ashram. That was the second college. Then in 1976, he was concerned about the children in Puttaparthi and the villages around. He started Srimati Ishwarama School. Remember the promise he gave his mother? He named it after his physical mother, Srimati Ishwarama School. 1979, all this is happening in such quick succession. 1979, the third college came up, Sri Sathya Sai Arts and Science College for Men in Puttaparthi. And in 1981, all these three came under what we now call the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, deemed to be university, a very unique university, one of its kind in the world. And then, to encompass even young children from all over India, to offer them this values-based integral education, the very same year, 1981, Swami started the Sri Sathya Sai Primary School and the Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School, which is now in Puttaparthi. Couple of years later, in 2010, again, Swami started something very unique. We know how divine music is, very dear to the Lord. So for all those young aspiring students who wanted to learn music, the art and science of music, Swami started the Sathya Sai Nirpuri College of Music. And then in 2010, just before Bhagawan left his physical form, he initiated one more project which is called the Vidya Vahini. What does Vidya Vahini do? It harnesses technology to take this values-based integral education to schools all over India. This is the wonderful education project of Bhagawan. And it builds such strong confidence in students. I'll just give you one anecdote. I'll just share one anecdote with all of you. One of our students, coming from a very humble background, he was a farmer's son, and he studied in our institute. When he completed his master's, he was attending an interview. Multinational company, very top management experts sitting over there. They knew a little bit about Bhagawan. So during the interview, they just joked with him. They said, we hear your Bhagawan gives lots of gold chains, rings and all to devotees. He has not given you any gift. We don't see any ring or chain with you. They expected the boy to get a little bit ruffled, but he did not. He said, sir, do you know I'm a farmer's son? Before I joined Bhagwan's college, I did not know A, B, C, D till Z. After I joined Bhagwan's college, I learned English, I learned all the subjects. Today, if I'm sitting here and conversing with you, top executives of a multinational company, so confidently that self-confidence is the gift Bhagawan has given. Much greater than a change of the wind. This is what Bhagawan's educational institutions do. The third promise was of clean drinking water. Swami initiated this in the year 1995 when he started the mega water projects catering drinking water to more than 1,500 thirsty villages in Andhra Pradesh. It started with Anandpur district, then went on to Mehboob-nagar, Medak district, East and West Godavari district, and it's going on even today. But in 2002, a couple of years later, in fact, he made the announcement when the super speciality hospital was inaugurated in Whitefield. Swami said the people of Chennai are suffering so much because of lack of water. What is the government doing? There was a Telugu Ganga canal, but nobody dared to revive it. Very, very complex and very expensive project. Swami did it in 2 years. 2002, he made the announcement. 2004, fresh water from Krishna river entered the Pundi reservoir in Chennai, quenching the thirst of so many citizens in Chennai. This is Bhagwan's water project. He fulfilled all these three promises in magnanimous ways. But the true purpose of building all these institutions, many times Bhagawan would tell us, the healthcare is incidental, educare is incidental, drinking water is incidental. Then what is the primary purpose? To bring devotees closer to me so that they can experience the love, the grace of Bhagavan, and more importantly, grow spiritually. That was the only purpose of Bhagavan, to help human beings to evolve spiritually. In fact, Bhagavan said, the descent of the avatar is for the ascent of humanity. I believe long back, somebody dared to ask Bhagavan, are you God? And we know the wonderful answer Bhagavan gave. I've not heard anybody giving that answer. Swami said, yes, I am God and so are you. He would tell all of us, be confident, tell everybody you are God. I am God, you are also God. Then why is it that we are not able to recognize this truth if it is so simple? For that also Bhagavan has the answer. He says, Mano Moolam Idam Jagat, your monkey mind. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Mind is the root cause for bondage and also for liberation. So Swami gave a beautiful analogy of the heart and the mind. He said the heart is the lock and the mind is the key. You would put this key into the lock, turn it towards the world, you are bound, attachment. But turn it towards Swami, you will become free. What a beautiful analogy and what a beautiful example that Bhagavan gave us. It was to remove this veil of Maya from the vision of mankind that the avatar actually descends on planet Earth. In our scriptures, many pathways have been described and defined for reaching God. But broadly, our ancients classified them into three categories: Karma Marga, Bhakti Marga and Jnana Marga. So what did the avatar do? He gave a combo. He created institutions, created platforms, created projects and told devotees, practice whatever you like. You want to do karma? Here is a pathway for karma. You want to follow the path of worship? Here are various avenues for worship. You want to follow the path of the quest for truth? That pathway, here are various avenues for jnana. Let us look at each of them, what Bhagavan really did. Starting with Karma Marga. In 1960s, Swami had already laid down the plans for the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization, which has become a worldwide initiative today. In fact, the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization is a one of its kind, unique organization to which the avatar gave his own name. He said, without Sri Sathya Sai, this will not function. It is Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization, which has three divisions, basically service, education and spiritual, and gives devotees opportunities to do selfless seva. In 1967, the first Sri Sathya Sai All India Conference was held in Abbotsbury. There was a darshan hall those days in Abbotsbury in Madras, then Madras. Very next year, 1968, the first world conference, the way Swami scaled up his projects, a world conference was held in Mumbai. Very soon, the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization spread to more than 120 countries across the world. And in 1969, Swami started Mahila Vibhag, a women's section in the organization. He empowered women once again, saying, engage yourself in offering service to society. In fact, one of the biggest initiatives given to them was the Bal Vikas movement. We'll come to that a little later. So this is how Bhagawan helped devotees to practice Karma Yoga. Talking of Karma Yoga, I'll just share a personal experience of mine, how Swami taught me the essence of Karma Yoga. It goes back to the mid-90s. On one occasion, I had gone to the super specialty hospital in Puttaparthi to donate blood. They needed O negative blood, so their group. I just completed the donation and was enjoying the beautiful juice they give us after the blood donation, and suddenly Swami came to the hospital. So it was a sudden visit, never expected. There were a number of guests with Swami. Swami was perhaps showing them the hospital. He entered the blood bank and bang, face to face, Swami is in front and I'm seated there. Naturally I was overjoyed, especially when you have done something nice in life, given blood. So I thought Swami is going to pat me on my back. He told them this boy is a professor. Swami would call everybody a professor. I was very young. Swami said this boy is a professor. And then Swami asked me in Hindi, blood diya? I very enthusiastically said, diya. And suddenly the smile on Swami's face disappeared and there was a very serious look. He said, mujhe nahi diya. And he went away. Swami doesn't wait for you to respond, he just left. I was so dejected, so disappointed. I thought I had done something good. And what did Swami mean by saying, mujhe nahi diya? Where is the question of giving blood to Bhagavan? It took me quite a long time to introspect, and finally it dawned on me that when I actually gave blood, like most of us do, we always think we are helping a patient. But Swami says, no, you are doing it for the Swami in that patient. That is Karma Yoga. Whenever you do seva, remember, Swami is there in that person. You are not helping some XYZ, you are helping the divine. That is true Karma Yoga. Coming to Bhakti Yoga. We all know 20th October 1940 when Bhagawan announced I am Sri Sathya Sai Baba, the very next thing he did was he sang the first bhajan, Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam Dustara Bhavasadara Taranam. And thus he initiated mankind into the path of bhakti through Namasmarana. In the same 1960s, when the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization was already happening, Swami started Bhajan Mandali to sing bhajans in samitis. And then in 1968, I understand the Brindavan Bhajan group who sing bhajans in Brindavan was formally formed in 1968. And in 1971, I was talking about the Bal Vikas movement. It started as Bala Vihar. Swami wanted to kindle the lamp of bhakti and jnana in young children, and he empowered the women to do it. And that's how the Bal Vikas movement took off in 1971. Apart from this, Swami encouraged us to celebrate all festivals of all religions, and he made us understand the spirit behind the celebration, the symbolism behind the celebrations. He initiated us into the chanting of Vedas and made it very clear that Vedas don't belong to any particular religion, they are universal. He allowed us to practice all rites and rituals, not in a mechanical manner, but in its true spirit. And this is how Bhagavan gave a push or turbocharged the bhakti movement in India. Again, small example here of bhakti. When we talk of devotion, Swami always says, if you have true devotion, you can move mountains. I was wondering which experience to share because there are millions of them. But one thing struck to me very strongly. I remember this was maybe the early 2000s. Swami would sit in Kulban Hall outside and he would converse for a very long time with the students, and the main translator would be Professor Anil Kumar. We all have heard of him. On one such evening, Swami was talking. There was one boy who went on coming closer and closer to give a letter to Swami. And we know Bhagawan, if he doesn't want to take, there are hundreds of ways he can ignore you. So Swami never looked at the boy. Conversations went on for close to 1 hour, and finally Swami said, "Chalo, I'm going." And he was going towards the interview room. Professor Anil Kumar, who was seeing this, felt very sad for the boy. He made courage. He said, "Swami, Papam, Apillavadu, this boy is trying so much to give you. Please take his letter. Maybe there is some emergency in his family." Swami immediately stood. He looked at Professor Anil Kumar. He said, "With Sai, there can be no emergency. With Swami, there can be no emergency because Swami is faster than any emergency. Swami is faster than lightning, faster than a bullet. He is beyond time and space." So Swami said, "Don't tell me there's an emergency." In fact, the boy's problem had already been solved without taking the letter. That is the power of devotion. The third pathway is of jnana or wisdom. Swami would light the lamp of wisdom in our hearts through his sweet words, conversations in the mandir during darshan line. One word was enough to kindle jnana, or the private interviews, and most importantly, the public discourses. The first public discourse, as I understand, happened in 1947 in Karur, in Tamil Nadu. That was the first time Swami spoke formally to a big gathering. In 1958, the Sanatana Sarati, the spiritual newsletter, we all may be familiar of that, was launched in 1958. And then something very interesting happened. From 1958 to 1984, you can count the number of years, it's 26. Every month, Swami wrote an article for Sanatana Sarati. I don't think any author has written non-stop for 26 long years an article for any magazine or any book. Bhagawan wrote for 26 long years. And then we know all these articles got compiled by Professor Kasturi, who is Swami's formal biographer, into the Vahini series. In 1962, Swami started the Veda Purusha Saptaha Jnana Yajna, which is conducted every year, even now during Dasera. Thus he initiated us into the sacred rituals. He also started Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha, where wise people, pandits, spiritually knowledgeable people spoke to everybody to make us understand the higher truths of life. And Swami never tired to give us spiritual knowledge. Every discourse he would remind us, Prema Swarupulara, you all are embodiments of divine love. Swami never tired. This is how he paved the way for the Jnana Marga. Now to encourage, see, it's not just establishing these things, you have to keep on motivating human beings, you have to keep on encouraging them. So to encourage people to practice Kalma, Bhakti and Jnana, and to bless them with his Darshan, Sparshan and Sambhashan, he decided to set up centers across India, and of course world also, but I'll highlight only a few of them. The main headquarters is Puttaparthi, as I told you, 45 the Patha Mandir and 50 Prashanti Nilayam. Next, in 64, this Brindavan Ashram came into existence, where we all are seated here. This happened in 1964. 1968, Swami blessed Dharma Kshetra, which is Swami's mandir in Mumbai. 1973, Swami blessed Shivam in Hyderabad, Swami's mandir in Hyderabad. Then in 1981 came Sundaram in Chennai. In 1986 came Sai Shruti in Kodaikanal. And then in 1992, the Sai Ramesh Hall. Earlier there was a different hall, but the hall where we are exactly sitting now, this came in 1992. And in 1995, Sai Kulwant Hall in Puttaparthi, the way it is now, took shape in 95. And in 1999, Swami started the Sri Sathya Sai International Center in New Delhi. In 2001, again Swami blessed mankind with a very special institution. He blessed the Radio Sai Global Harmony. Till then, those who were there in those days will remember, the only way to have Bhagavan's darshan was to go to Puttaparthi and hear him, get his blessings. And the other only possible option was these audio cassettes and tapes. That's how we could see Swami. Nothing else was possible. But Radio Sai Global Harmony, which has today become the Sri Sathya Sai Media Center, carries Bhagavan's message and love to millions of people across the world in so many varieties of ways. Live telecast, broadcast, interviews, conversations with devotees, photographs of Bhagavan. It has become a sort of central hub for Bhagavan's message, teachings and love. Fine, I have highlighted so many things and there are many more, pardon me. But who will manage all this? It's so important to manage all this. So that's how Swami started in 1972, the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, September 1972. He allowed all these institutions to come up in 60s. In 72, he set up the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, which is the body which is taking care of all Bhagavan's projects even today. They function with so much of confidence, energy, enthusiasm, and based on the guidelines given by Bhagavan, strictly on the guidelines being given by Bhagavan, they are furthering Bhagavan's mission. Such a fantastic glory of the avatar. So many things he accomplished in one lifetime. Nobody can even dream of accomplishing so many things even in multiple lifetimes. But again, coming back to the purpose, the only purpose was transformation of the human heart. Bhagavan is like the divine goldsmith. I love this example and so I keep narrating it again and again. The goldsmith, what he does, I believe he polishes whether it's a vessel or a glass or a plate, he keeps on polishing it. And what is the benchmark to know whether it is enough, polished enough? If he looks at it, he should be able to see his face. That's how it should be shining. Swami does the same thing, keeps on polishing us, transforming us through challenges, difficulties, ups and downs in life, until a point comes when he can see himself in us, which means the divinity has to manifest in us. Till then, Swami keeps continuing to transform us. Brothers and sisters, the human form may not be there with us today, but Bhagavan expects us to see him in everything now. He wants us to see him in every human being, every brother, every sister, every animal, every bird, every insect, even in a stone. I remember sometimes in Swami's interview room, when somebody would close the door very hard, Swami would call him and give him a firing. Our door lo kuda Bhagavanturu unnaru. Even in that door, Swami is there. How can you close so hard? So we have to see him in everything. That is the challenge. Love all, serve all, help never, help ever and hurt never. Bhagavan says, my life is my message. This is what he has always said. So what is the gratitude we can offer to Bhagavan? I think the best gratitude we can offer to Swami is to love him, to practice the teachings that he has given us, and become so confident that we should be able to say, Swami, our life now is your message. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Thank you, sir, for such an enthralling and sweet talk on the glory of our beloved Bhagavan. Swami is in all of us. Swami is around all of us. Thank you, sir. We now request Sri Bhutia, sir, the custodian of the ashram, to offer a token of love and appreciation to Dr. Nagarajan.